Quiet, numbskulls. I'm broadcasting.
All right, let's take it from the top again. Places. Action.
Well, let's see. We have on the bags, we have who's on first, what's on second, I don't know who's on third.
That's what I want to find out.
I say who's on first, what's on second, I don't know who's on third.
Are you the manager?
Yes.
You going to be the coach, too?
Yes.
And you know the fellow's name?
Oh, I should.
Well, then who's on first?
Yes.
I mean the fellow's name.
Who?
The guy on first.
Who?
The first baseman.
Who?
The guy playing first.
Who is on first?
I'm asking you who's on first.
That's the man's name.
That's whose name?
Yes.
Well, go ahead and tell me.
That's it.
That's who?
Yes.
Join us for another voyage back in time on Classic Radio Rewind. Here's your host, Barry Slinker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dex Rowe, and welcome to another edition of Classic Radio Rewind. I'm your host, Barry Slinker. Stick with us for the next 2 hours as the WOTR Radio Network continues to entertain you with the best in old-time radio. Coming up in this edition of Classic Radio Rewind is an episode from The Lone Ranger from 1942, followed by an episode from the Aldrich family from 1952. And lastly, wrapping things up with an episode from The Whistler from 1945. But first, we have an episode from The Challenge of the Yukon. A man is shot in cold blood, but the townspeople think that the killer is Corey Lane, but Sergeant Preston isn't so sure. So from November 3rd, 1950, it's The Challenge of the Yukon with an episode titled Whistling in the Dark.
As gunshots echo across the wind-swept, snow-covered reaches of the wild Northwest, Quaker puffed wheat and Quaker puffed rice, the breakfast cereal shot from guns, present the Challenge of the Yukon. It's Yukon King, swiftest and strongest lead dog of the Northwest, blazing the trail for Sergeant Preston of the Northwest Mounted Police in his relentless pursuit of lawbreakers.
On King! On, you husky!
Gold discovered in the Yukon. A stampede to the Klondike in the wild race for riches. Back to the days of the gold rush. With Quaker puffed wheat and Quaker puffed rice, bringing you the adventures of Sergeant Preston and his wonder dog, Yukon King, as they meet the Challenge of the Yukon. Did you get that hurry-up signal, fellas and girls?
This is the very last day on this program. We can offer you a sensational Sergeant Preston mounted police whistle.
Have pencil and paper ready. Be sure to hear today how to get for yourself the official two-toned kind of police whistle that Sergeant Preston always carries.
It's offered only by delicious, nourishing Quaker puffed wheat and Quaker puffed rice.
Stay glued to your radio for details. Young Corey Lane slammed the door of Matt Deacon's cabin angrily and started trudging down the main street toward the center of town. The wind-driven snow bit deep into his cheeks, and he welcomed the sting. Ann Howard, who owned the Beaver City restaurant, lived next door to Matt, and as Corey passed her door, he thought of stopping. Then he rejected the idea. He wanted to be alone in his disappointment.
Bobby!
Suddenly, he heard his name called. He turned back. Matt Deacon was standing in the open doorway of his cabin. A shot rang out. Matt clutched at the air and then slumped to the threshold. The door of Ann's cabin opened.
Who's there?
It's Corey, Ann.
I thought I heard a shot.
You did. Look.
It's Matt. Did you shoot him?
Oh, no. I don't know where the shot came from. Across the street, I didn't see anybody.
Is he dead?
I'll go see. He's dead, all right.
Are you sure?
Absolutely.
Oh, listen. Listen, they've heard the shot downtown and they're coming from the cafes. Corey, you can't stay here.
Why not?
Because you'll be blamed. Come with me to my place.
What's the sense?
Don't argue. Just come on.
All right.
I'll put out the lamp.
What's the idea, Ann?
Matt Deacon has been murdered.
I know that,
and
but...
you'll be accused of it.
Huh?
I heard you talking with Hugh Mason, Matt's partner in the restaurant today. And a lot of other people must have heard you.
Well?
Deacon and Mason. You owe them money. Your claim is up as security and your note's due in a day or two. You came into town to get it extended, and Hugh told you that Matt handled all such matters. That he'd be back from Dawson tonight and you could see him in his cabin. Matt refused to give you any more time.
How do you know that?
Oh, the nature of the beast. He wants your claim.
Yeah, it's true. He did refuse.
Too many people know that you plan to see Matt tonight, and when they find him dead, well, listen to
I
them.
was outside your door when the shot was fired. You saw me. I didn't have any gun. You can tell them.
They'd say I was lying to protect you. Now, I would too, Corey.
Oh, Ann.
But the best way is not to have to lie. Now, get out of here and go back to the palace, to your room.
And deny that I was ever here? What's that but lying?
Refuse to say anything.
You can't do that.
All right, then lie. Oh, say that you decided to see Matt in the morning instead of tonight.
No. They're one of the men. I want to know if you saw anybody.
Go out through the kitchen, out the back way. Now, hurry.
All right.
Ann?
Who is it?
Kate Corby. Let me in.
No, I haven't finished dressing.
Oh, please let me in. It's important. It's about Corey.
Well, all right. Now, what about Corey?
Matt Deacon has been murdered.
Oh, so that's what the shot was. Well, what does it have to do with Corey?
Well, he came to see Matt tonight. I thought he might have stopped here. They're saying
I
that...
don't care what they're saying. I haven't
have
seen...
to start lying yet, Ann. Not to Keg.
Corey.
Why haven't you gone?
Keg's an old friend. You don't have to worry about him.
Corey, you didn't do it.
Oh, of course not.
The rest of the town will never believe that. I've been trying to persuade him to go back to his hotel room before it's too late. Then when they go after him, let him find him in bed.
She's right.
There are too many people around.
Not in back, and you'll never be seen in this storm.
You can make it all right.
Oh, please, Corey. Please, for my sake. Or it's someone else. Now, get out of here, both of you.
Come on, Corey.
All right.
As Sergeant Preston and Constable Downey drove into town, they were attracted by the crowd in front of Matt Deacon's cabin and headed straight for it.
Looking! Hurry, Husky! Follow!
Sergeant Preston, there's been a murder.
Sergeant, somebody shot Matt Deacon. Come on, Jim.
Right with him.
Inside the cabin, the body had been placed on a cot. Doc Forrest had finished his examination and was talking to Hugh Mason as the sergeant and the constable entered.
Well, Sergeant Preston. Hello, Mason. How are you, Doc?
Sergeant.
This is Constable Downey.
How do you do?
Doctor.
It's a sad business, Sergeant. How'd it happen?
We found him lying in the doorway. I was playing poke at the Eldorado when we heard the shot. We all came running. Doc was the first one to get here.
That's right, Sergeant. He was dead when I examined him. Bullet entered his left side and pierced the heart.
And he wasn't able to say anything.
No, Sergeant.
Any idea who did it?
Well, there was no one around, but with the darkness and the storm, it would have been a simple matter for the killer to make his getaway before I arrived.
You saw no one?
No, Sergeant.
I'm offering a $1,000 reward.
Are you?
Matt was my partner. And no sneaking coyote's going to do a thing like this and live to brag about it. The money goes to you, Sergeant.
The Northwest Mounted doesn't accept rewards.
Then it goes to anyone with information that'll lead to the killer's arrest. Maybe I can earn it myself.
Huh? What do you mean?
Corey Lane. He had a note coming due.
What about it?
Well, we had supper together tonight. He wanted to talk to me about it, but I told him that Matt handled all our loans. That I expected him back from Dawson this evening. That Corey could discuss the matter with him here.
That all?
Corey was anxious to see him tonight. Wanted to head back for Wishbone Creek the first thing in the morning.
You believe that Corey killed him?
I don't say that, but I happen to know that Matt never renews a note. Corey stood to lose his claim.
Then you believe that he had a motive for killing him?
It's up to you to decide, Sergeant.
Thanks for the information. Is that desk locked?
I don't know.
No. If you don't mind, gentlemen, the constable and I would like to go through Matt's papers.
Well, aren't you going to ask Corey any questions?
Later. Now, if you don't mind...
Sure. Let's go, Doc.
During the next half hour, the sergeant and the constable made a thorough examination of the cabin and the contents of Matt Deacon's desk. When they left the cabin, there was still a crowd out in front, and Hugh Mason hurried to the sergeant's side.
Going after Corey, Sergeant.
Where's he staying?
The hotel, the Palace. I'll show you.
All right.
Come on, man. Let's go with you.
All the men followed the sergeant to the hotel, but he asked them to wait in the lobby, and he and the constable climbed the stairs alone. Corey was in room 204.
Yes?
Sergeant Preston and Constable Downey, Northwest Mounted Police. You're Corey Lane?
That's right.
May we come in?
Why, sure. Better leave the door open till I light the lamp.
All right.
What's on your mind, Sergeant?
Did we wake you up?
No, I just gone to bed.
You been out tonight?
Well, I had supper at Ann Howard's place. I came back here afterwards.
When was that?
About 7.
You stayed here?
Why, yes. Take a look at these, Sergeant.
Your mucklucks, Corey?
Yeah. They're wet. There's a piece of ice here that hasn't melted yet.
So you have been out since supper?
Why, yes.
Did you go to Matt Deacon's cabin?
All right, I did, but I didn't kill him.
Do you have a gun?
I didn't when I was there. I've got one in my knapsack.
I'd like to see it, Corey.
Yeah, it's in here. It was in here. I never took it out at all.
It's gone.
Yeah.
What was it?
.38 revolver. Had my initial scratched on the butt. You think I used it and then threw it away. Why would I tell you I had a gun if I didn't think it was here?
Sit down.
Sergeant,
Sit down. That's better. Does Matt refuse to extend your note?
I still have 2 days. I was going to try and borrow the money.
He refused?
Yes. But I didn't kill him. I'd left. Ann Howard lives next door. I was in front of her cabin when I heard Matt call to me.
He called to you by name?
By name. Corey.
Not Lane?
Oh, Corey. I turned around, and just as I did, I heard a shot, and Matt dropped. Ann will tell you that I was standing in front of her door then. She opened it as soon as she heard the shot. She'll tell you that I didn't have a gun.
Corey, you had the motive to commit this murder, and you had the opportunity.
How could I without
But neither Constable Downey nor I believe you did it.
Huh?
We believe it was planned before tonight and that you were elected to take the blame for it.
I was elected? By whom?
Well, that we must find out. For the time being, we'll let people think you're our principal suspect. Let the real criminals think they've succeeded in their plan.
Are you arresting me?
No, Corey, but I want you to take this whistle.
Yes, sir.
The constable and I intend to stay close to you from now on. If for any reason you need our help, blow that whistle.
We'll continue our adventure in just a moment. Going.
Your last chance is almost gone, fellas and girls. Yes, today is the very last time on this program you'll hear how to get a thrilling Sergeant Preston mounted police whistle. A whistle that's a 14-karat gold-plated copy of the very whistle that Sergeant Preston always carried.
And that saved his life time and time again.
You can't buy this sensational whistle anywhere, in any store.
It's offered only by delicious Quaker puffed rice and Quaker puffed wheat.
The famous ready-to-serve breakfast cereal shot from guns.
Wait till you see what a beauty of a whistle it is. Gleaming 14-karat gold-plated with a cord attached of gold-colored braided nylon.
And what a big He-Man whistle it is. Actually over 3 1/2 inches long.
It's not a toy by a long shot. It's of heavy-duty metal. It feels heavy. It is heavy.
It's not an ordinary single-tone whistle.
It's an official two-toned police whistle.
Now, this is the last day we can tell you how to get it. So, listen carefully.
Buy a package of Quaker puffed wheat or Quaker puffed rice. The bigger, better-tasting cereal that's shot from guns.
And full of bang-up, nut-like flavor.
Then send the box top with only 35 cents. That's 35 cents. And your name and address to Yukon, Box L, Chicago 77, Illinois.
And with this money-back guarantee, you can't lose.
Hold this Sergeant Preston mounted police whistle in your hand. Blow it just once.
And if it isn't a better, far better whistle than you've ever heard or seen, you may return it and get every cent of your money back, plus postage.
Act now. This is absolutely the last day of this radio offer.
Send your 35 cents and 1 box top from Quaker puffed wheat or Quaker puffed rice to Yukon, 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 Box L, Chicago 77, Illinois.
Now to continue. When the sergeant and the constable returned to the lobby, it was still crowded, and Hugh Mason was leading the discussion.
Of course I'll pay it. After all, Matt was my partner. The least that I can do to bring the criminal to justice.
Talk to the clerk, Jim.
boys want to
Get
stay?
a room as close as you
There
can
you
to
are.
Corey's.
Right.
Well, Sergeant, what'd you say?
At first, he said that he hadn't left his room this evening.
That's a lie.
He admitted it later.
He went to see Matt. Did you arrest him?
No.
Well, why not?
Because I don't have enough evidence for that?
But if you don't lock him up or something, he'll try to escape.
Well, that would prove he was guilty, wouldn't it? He wouldn't get far, Mason, and sometimes it's a wise thing to give a man enough rope.
Oh, enough rope to hang himself, huh? Uh-huh. Maybe you're right.
Gentlemen, I'd advise you all to go home. I intend to conduct a complete investigation tomorrow morning.
Don't forget, fellas, $1,000 to anyone.
What's vacant, Jim?
Room 205, the room next door.
Good.
There's only one cot, but I'll have another one put in.
Fine. Oh, and clerk,
Yes, sir.
if anyone should ask where we're staying...
Oh, I understand, sir. The constable warned me. If anyone asks, you're on the 3rd floor.
Nearly all the men in town adjourned to the El Dorado Cafe after they left the hotel. Keg was standing at the bar talking with Hank Travers when Hugh Mason walked up to them.
Keg, we got things to talk over.
I'll say we have.
Follow me in the back room. You too, Hank.
All right. What's the idea of making yourself so all-fired important, Hugh? Why did you have to offer that reward?
It was the natural thing to do.
Sure, because it's the natural thing for a guy to think of his own skin first.
I don't have to protest my innocence. I have 50 witnesses to prove that I was at the El Dorado when Matt was killed.
Well, I was there, too. So if the case against Corey doesn't hold up and the sergeant starts looking for someone else, I'll be the one to...
Take it easy, Keg. If you were arrested, you'd be sure to implicate me.
You can depend on it.
We must make sure that Corey is convicted.
He will be. All the evidence is against him. I don't know. There's Ann. The sergeant hasn't talked to her yet. Her story will be in Corey's favor. She might be able to convince the sergeant he had nothing to do with the shooting.
We won't give it a chance.
You're not suggesting...
No. Now listen to me, both of you. The sergeant is practically convinced that Corey is guilty. You heard what he said. The only reason he didn't arrest him is that he doesn't have enough evidence right now. He's given him enough rope. You heard him. Enough rope.
Well?
One false move, and Corey will be through.
What do you got in mind?
We'll persuade him to get out of town.
That's impossible.
You could do it. His good friend, his pal, who's only thinking of his welfare.
No, it isn't good enough.
I haven't finished.
I need an argument, something that will panic him, make him want to run. There isn't anything.
You're wrong. You still have his gun, haven't you?
Yeah, there's no chance of getting it back in his room.
That's a good thing there wasn't. Let's see it.
Here.
You haven't cleaned it or anything?
No.
One shot fired and his initials on the handle. Here's the story. Hank, you and a couple of other guys were looking around in the gully in back of Matt's cabin. You found this gun.
It was long after midnight when Corey was awakened by a stealthy knocking at his door.
Who is it? Keg. What's the matter? Let me in. Was someone out there with you? It's Hank Travers. He's found your gun. Where? In a gully back of Matt's cabin. My gun was stolen. Whatever you say, Corey, but it's going to look mighty bad if he turns it over to the police. He knew I was a friend of yours, and he came to me first. It's a break. What does he want? Well, he'll tell you, but let me handle it. All right. Come in, Hank.
Hi, Corey.
So you found my gun?
Yeah.
I think maybe you stole it and used it to kill Matt.
You're loco. There were a couple of other guys with me when I found it. In the gully back of Matt's. One shot fired.
Where is it?
I haven't got it with me.
So what do you want?
Well, it's this way, Corey. Matt was as mean as he come. He deserved what he got. And I wouldn't like to see you hang for it.
Thanks.
But your initials are on the gun. And if I give it to Sergeant Preston, it would just about cinch the case against you. I'd collect $1,000 from Hugh Mason.
So that's it, huh?
I'll sell it to you for $500.
I'm not interested. Don't pay any attention to him, Hank. Of course he's interested.
If I
had $500, I'd have paid off my note. We'll get it, Hank. I'll go on home. We'll see you in the morning.
You'd better make it early.
Keg, there's no way I can raise $500 by morning. And even if I could... I know. Besides... I was only stalling. Only one thing left to do. What's that? Get out of here. Run away? You're sunk if you don't.
Lucky it's still snowing. There won't be any tracks to follow. I can take you to a place where you can hide out for a month if necessary. No one will ever find you. And after they stop looking, I'll see that you get across the border.
I don't want to run away. Besides, there's no sense to it.
No sense? You were at the cabin. You had a fight with Matt. They find your gun with one shot fired from it in the gully in back of the cabin. With that kind of evidence against you, there isn't a jury in the world who wouldn't find you guilty.
I didn't do it.
Well, I believe that. No one else will.
The sergeant believes I'm innocent, too.
Oh.
At least he said...
Listen, he came downstairs and told Mason he was giving you enough rope to hang yourself.
What?
That's what he believes.
To hang myself?
I heard him. Now go on, get dressed. I'll meet you out and back with my dog team in 10 minutes.
For a moment, Corey stood irresolute.
Enough rope to hang myself. And giving me that whistle in case I needed him.
Swiftly, he began to dress. As he slipped into his parka, he saw the whistle lying on the table, and without understanding the impulse, put it in his pocket. Then he left the room. Keg was waiting in back of the hotel.
Climb on board.
Where are we going?
We cut through the forest to Gonaway Creek.
What's there?
Your hideout. The old Polar Star mine. Let's go.
Hush. I'm ready.
Hush on!
The team had hardly disappeared in the storm when the sergeant and the constable stepped out the back entrance of the hotel and hurried to the run where King and the other members of the sergeant's team had been sleeping.
Wind them, King, fast.
It took only a few minutes to harness the team.
The tracks aren't covered yet.
No. There's the trail, King. Follow it. Quiet, boy. We'll have to keep the team quiet. All set, Jim?
All set.
Go on, King. On, boy.
Keg drove his team hard over the drifted trail through the forest, up and over Windy Ridge, and then down the far side to Gonaway Creek. At the head of the creek, they stopped in front of the entrance to the old Polar Star mine.
Oh, there!
Keg.
What's the matter?
There's a sled. Those are dogs burrowed in the snow.
Yeah.
There's somebody here already. We've got to find some other place.
This'll do, Corey. Go on inside.
Keg, what's the idea of the gun?
It's your gun, Corey. Is that explanation enough?
No.
It should be. I'll get going. Light this lantern. Give it to me. Now march.
With his own gun pressed into the small of his back, Corey was forced to walk into the mine. When the end of the main shaft was reached, Keg issued a command.
To the left.
Now Corey could see a faint glimmer of light ahead of him. As he neared it, he realized that it came from beneath a door.
Don't bother to knock, Corey. We're expected. Go on, open the door.
Beyond the door, there was a room, evidently used at one time to store tools. Inside were Hugh Mason and Hank Travers.
Keg, what have you done? Why have you brought me here?
Shall we tell him?
Of course. We're helping Sergeant Preston. He told us that if you ran away, it would prove that you were guilty.
Why, Keg? I thought you were my friend.
Anybody can make a mistake.
You sure must have been stupid to make that one, though. The only thing Keg likes about you is your girl.
What are you going to do with me?
We've been considering that, Corey. I'm afraid there's only one answer. We can't just leave you here. You'd head straight back for town and tell the sergeant you'd been kidnapped. We could tie you up and leave him. Cold would finish you off, but the surest way is a bullet. Let him have it, Keg.
Not me. I've done enough killing for one night.
You?
You are stupid. You thought Matt called after you just before he was shot. He didn't. He didn't say Corey. He said Corby. He saw me.
Why?
That question is getting a little monotonous, especially since we have no intention of answering it. Shoot him, Hank.
Not me. My cut isn't big enough to include murder.
All right, then let me have his gun, Keg. May as well make it look like suicide just in case he's ever found.
Here.
As Corey watched Keg hand the revolver to Hugh, his hand closed on the sergeant's whistle. Almost absent-mindedly, he put it to his lips and blew.
Hey, what the...
A whistle.
Let me see that.
It's gold.
There's a name engraved on it.
Let's see. Sergeant Preston.
Where did you get this?
He gave it to me. He told me my life was in danger. If I ever needed his help, I was to use it. I waited a little too long.
He told you your life was in danger.
And that he didn't believe I killed Matt. Keg persuaded me he was lying. My friend.
Hey, this changes things.
How does it?
He suspects us.
How could he? And what good would it do him if he did? Corey's the only one who could prove anything, and he's through. Hey, what's the matter with this gun?
You hit the empty chamber.
Now I've got it. Now.
Now is right. Drop that gun, Mason.
Sergeant Preston.
Why, you...
Anyone else like to trade shots? Evidently not. Get their guns, Jim.
I'll get them. Sergeant, how? When I blew that whistle,
We were
I
just
had
entering the mine. We got here as fast as we could.
But how did you know?
The constable and I were in 205. There's a knothole in the petition. We heard everything you said to Keg and Travers.
It was Keg who shot Matt. You suspected him all along?
No, Corey, not until he persuaded you to leave town. The man we suspected was Hugh Mason.
Why? Hugh was Matt's partner.
And used his position to steal money from him. Matt had all the proof, and he showed it to us in Dawson. I came here to arrest Mason for embezzlement. You'd better bandage his arm, Jim.
I will, Sergeant.
He must have known that Matt was on to him, and he stood to gain more than anyone else by Matt's death. Not only safety from prosecution, but according to their partnership agreement, all the firm's property went to the surviving partner in case of death. Safety and wealth. It was a great temptation.
And you were right, Sergeant. Except that it was Keg who actually fired the shot. He hired Keg and Travers to help him.
With your testimony, we can prove it. Now, let's get started back to town.
Here's your whistle, Sergeant.
You handle it as if it were worth $1 million.
Or whatever a man's life is worth. It saved mine.
I'm glad, Corey. Come on, King. This case is closed.
In just a moment, Sergeant Preston will give you a preview of Monday's adventure, A Friend in Need. Last chance, fellas and girls.
This is your very last chance on this program to hear how to get a Sergeant Preston mounted police whistle of your very own.
A genuine 14-karat gold-plated copy of Sergeant Preston's own mounted police whistle.
And with it, you get a 12-inch gold-colored braided nylon cord.
You can hang it from your buttonhole or belt for any emergency.
To signal your pals when you're on a tight spot.
To use on patrol on dark nights.
And it's perfect to call and train your dog.
Remember, this is not a cheap toy whistle of tin or plastic. It's a big 3.5-inch whistle of heavy-duty metal.
So hurry, hurry, hurry. Send 35 cents. That's 35 cents with your name and address and one box top from a package of Quaker puffed rice or Quaker puffed wheat. The swell-tasting, crisp, fresh cereal shot from guns.
Send to Yukon, Box L, Chicago 77, Illinois. That's Yukon, Y-U-K-O-N, Yukon.
Now, this is absolutely the last time on this program we can tell you how to get a 14-karat gold-plated Sergeant Preston mounted police whistle.
So listen and get this for sure. Send only 35 cents and one box top from Quaker puffed wheat or Quaker puffed rice to Yukon, Box L, Chicago 77, Illinois. That's Yukon, Box L, Chicago 77, Illinois. And now, here's Sergeant Preston.
Sergeant Preston reporting, sir.
Oh, yes, Sergeant. A man named Kelmar was arrested last week for embezzling money from the bank down in Whitehorse. At the time of his arrest, he swore to get revenge on the bank manager for turning him in to the police.
Oh, yes, sir. I read the report on that case.
Well, I've just had word that Kelmar has escaped from the constable who was bringing him here to Dawson City. He may head back to Whitehorse and try to get the bank manager. I want you to track him down, Sergeant, before he gets a chance to carry out his threat.
Right, sir. I'll start immediately. Let's go, King.
Yes, it's up to Sergeant Preston to capture an escaped criminal before he can get revenge on the man who had him arrested. One thing is certain. He won't be taken without a desperate fight. Be sure to hear this exciting adventure Monday. These radio dramas, a feature of the Challenge of the Yukon Incorporated, are created by George W. Trendle, produced by Trendle Campbell Enterprises, directed by Fred Flowerday, and edited by Fran Stryker. The part of Sergeant Preston is played by Paul Sutton. They are brought to you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at the same time by Quaker Puffed Wheat and Quaker Puffed Rice, the breakfast cereals shot from guns. For a delicious hot breakfast, eat Quaker Oats. The giant of the cereals is Quaker Oats. Delicious, nutritious, makes you feel ambitious. The giant of the cereals is Quaker Oats. Say, boys and girls, do you want to be a star someday in sports and activities? Then start on good Quaker Oats breakfast tomorrow. 'Cause nourishing oatmeal gives you more growth and endurance than any other whole grain cereal. Remember, Quaker and Mother's Oats are the same. This is J. Michael wishing you goodbye, good luck, and good health from Quaker Puffed Wheat and Quaker Puffed Rice. So long. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Was the Challenge of the Yukon with an episode titled Whistling in the Dark from November 3rd, 1950. Coming up next on Classic Radio Rewind is an episode from The Lone Ranger. The Lone Ranger and Tonto investigate a ruthless gang's hideout in this episode from February 23rd, 1942, titled The Vulture's Nest.
Horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty hi-yo, Silver, the Lone Ranger. When the first railroads were built into the western United States, the engineers and men were faced with the constant danger of attack by outlaws and Indians, and their task might never have been accomplished had it not been for the masked rider of the plains. It was his strength and courage, his daring and resourcefulness that blazed the trail for progress and finally made possible the winning of the West. Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. From out of the past come the thundering hoofbeats of a great horse, Silver. The Lone Ranger rides again.
Come on, Silver. We're heading for the mission. There's going to be trouble. Hi-yo, Silver!
For some hours, the Lone Ranger and Tonto had been riding hard across the open country. Ahead, the masked man saw a little mission where he knew he would find his good friend, the Padre.
There it is, Tonto. Not good. We made it before sundown. I wonder why the Padre was so anxious to see us.
Maybe plenty trouble ahead.
We'll soon know. Easy there.
Easy, boy.
Whoa.
We go. My good friend, you have come.
It wasn't until noon that we were told you wanted us, Padre.
I sent the word out yesterday. I hoped you would be here before this day was ended. Tomorrow would be too late.
I'm glad we got here tonight. Now, what is it, Padre? Steady, boy. Hello, take the horses over to the watering trough.
Time to fix them. You come along, Silver. Come along.
What have you accomplished in your pursuit of John Kimberly?
Very little. We have no more proof that he's a criminal now than we had 2 weeks ago.
What I have to tell you may be of help, or it may not. Tomorrow evening, when the railroad from the east stops at Warren City, it will bring a doctor, Dr. Manson.
Will bring a doctor?
See. But he is not a good man. He is known to have betrayed his science many times. John Kimberly sent for him.
Why, Padre?
I do not know.
Warren City. Warren and Miles have their headquarters there.
I know. Kimberly is to meet the doctor at the train.
I see. I was wondering. The other day, Kimberly met several men. He gave them money, I don't know how much. And they headed west. I was going to follow them when I heard that you wanted to see me.
What I have said may be of little or no help, but...
It may be a lot of help. I'm going to Warren City. Hello. We're riding on again.
You will not wait for refreshment and rest?
There won't be time. It's a long trip to Warren City.
Silver, ready now.
Steady, fella. Thank you, Padre. Goodbye until another time.
Adios, amigo.
Come on, Silver. Get him up, Scout.
Good luck, Lone Ranger.
I heard him.
Oh. You would not come from the patio while he was here.
No, Padre. I couldn't.
My child, I do not understand you.
You don't?
You hide from the man you so greatly admire. He has never seen your face.
No, Padre. You see, he knew my brother. They were friends. He might remember me, or he might guess that I'm the sister of his friend. I look like my brother who was killed.
But what of that?
The Lone Ranger has closed that part of his life, Padre. He buried his identity in the graves of his companions. His life is dedicated to something fine and great. If he saw me, he might recall other days, happier days, when he didn't know loneliness.
You think it would make him unhappy to recall those days before he became the Lone Ranger?
Why risk making him unhappy?
Or risk having him desire the love that can never be part of his life? You would say that, but for your modesty.
I wouldn't want the Lone Ranger to change. He must never be anything but what he is.
The following evening, Jim Warren and Harry Miles were in the little shack that served as their office in Warren City. Harry stood gazing idly out of the window at the gleaming tracks of the railroad, waiting for Jim to finish at the desk.
I guess the arrangements are all finished, Harry. Here's a copy of the letter I sent west.
You sent it in plenty of time, didn't you?
Oh, sure. There'll be horses waiting for us when we reach the end of the tracks.
We can take the train for about 100 miles.
Right. Then we'll ride horses the rest of the way. I'm anxious to get to where the grading crew's at work.
You haven't heard of any trouble there?
Let's hope we won't find trouble when we get there. I'd like to stay overnight with a grading crew and then shove on to the pass and see how the surveyors are getting along.
Beyond the pass, all out for Junction City.
By October 1st or bust.
We aren't going to bust. In spite of...
John Kimberly?
Yeah. A crook.
Oh, if there were only proof. I'd sure like to see the coyote in jail.
Who wouldn't?
I hope he hasn't made trouble out there. If the tracks catch up to the grading crew or the graders overtake the surveyors... the whole job will be slowed up.
Jim.
Yeah?
Are you sure that we'll forfeit the railroad contract if we're not finished by October 1st?
Oh, no question about that, Harry. I've studied the contract till I know it by heart.
Then Kimberly would get control.
Oh, sure he would. That's why he's breaking his neck to delay us. I don't think he'd stop at anything.
Just how far do you really think he'd go?
Murder.
You believe that, don't you?
I'm sure of it. As a matter of fact, I sent a letter to Washington. I said that if anything happened to us, someone should look for a murderer.
What else did you say?
Well, enough to cause an investigation and make it hot for Kimberly if he's involved. Oh, I'm glad I wrote that letter, too. It's wild country out beyond the end of the tracks.
Hey, look there, out the window.
Well, what's happening?
The train's pulled in at the station and people are getting off.
Oh, I've seen that before. Now I want to finish up at the desk.
But take a look. John Kimberly just went by the window.
Kimberly? Are you sure, Harry?
See for yourself. He's talking to someone who just got off the train.
Been a long time since I saw you, Kimberly.
Yes, it has. And you certainly have changed a lot, Doctor. You don't look like the Dr. Manson I used to know in Washington.
I suppose I don't. Had a hard time these past few years.
You can't blame anyone but yourself for that. You wanted to get rich too fast.
Don't throw that up to me.
I don't intend to. Come on, let's walk over this way.
Why did you tell me to come here?
You came, didn't you?
I know what you can do to me if I refuse. Refuse to take orders from you.
Good. I'm glad you understand that.
I suppose you still have that evidence that would jail me?
I have.
I thought so.
Yeah, you needn't be afraid of it, though, Doc. I won't use it. Unless you force me to.
Why did you send for me?
I've got some work for you.
What kind?
It's right in your line. I see you brought your little bag along.
Of course.
Still have the bottles of medicines and things in it?
Yes. Why did you send for me?
You still have that white powder you used in Washington?
Don't speak of that.
Distasteful now, huh? You didn't mind talking about the white powder when you were plotting the murder of a
Don't.
Come now, Doc. You mustn't let your nerves get the better of you. No one knows that his nibs died of poison. Everybody called it a natural death. Heart failure, wasn't it?
Kimberly, you've ruined my life. Aren't you satisfied?
So far, I've been well satisfied, Doc. But now there's something I want done.
I can guess.
A couple of young fellows know that I'm fighting them. Men always know it when they're in a fight with John Kimberly.
You don't fight fair.
We won't discuss that, Doc. The point is simply this. I want a couple of cases of, well, we can call it heart failure again. Young men who aren't strong enough for the rigors of the West shouldn't overtask themselves. You'll know what to say.
Where are these men? What is your plan?
They're here in town now. They'll be leaving for the western end of the railroad when the train pulls out in a few days. We're leaving tonight by horse.
Kimberly, I suppose there's no use pleading with you.
No use at all. Come on, Doc. I'll take you where you can rest and get ready for a long ride. Several days in the saddle and nights in camp.
Kimberly and Dr. Manson were far from Warren City when the westbound train pulled out with Harry and Jim on board. The doctor had been increasingly nervous, much to the annoyance of John Kimberly. We find the two men at a hitch rack outside a cafe.
We'll stop at the hotel here in town tonight, Doc. Maybe that's what you need, a good night's sleep.
It isn't that.
And a few drinks before going to bed. Come on in the cafe and I'll stand treat.
It isn't sleeping out in the open that is bothering me.
Sure it is. You're not used to it, that's all. I thought it'd be better if we didn't show much of ourselves near Warren City. That's why I didn't want to stop in the towns before now. Go on inside.
Wait.
Well, what's the matter now?
The feeling I've had, it just came over me again. Stronger than ever.
Oh, stop your nonsense.
I can't help it, Kimberly. I told you before that I felt as if every move we made was watched.
Out here? Rot. No one pays any attention to anyone else out in this part of the country.
You said that before.
And the further west we go, the wilder it gets. Tomorrow we'll reach the end of the railroad tracks, and from there on, it'll be really wilderness.
Can't we abandon this plan of yours?
No, we can't.
Must we go through with everything you've outlined?
We must. I've told you there'll be an investigation when those two are found dead. I've got to be sure there's no way I can be blamed. Now, what'll you have to drink?
I don't care. It doesn't matter.
Say there, bartender.
Yeah?
Set out a couple of glasses in that bottle you've got your hand on. We'll pour our own.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll pour yours, Doc. Yeah, there you are.
Careful of that.
Say, what's the idea of scaring a man like you did my friend?
I didn't mean to startle you. Sorry.
It's all right.
You're nervous. What are you afraid of?
Nothing at all.
You should be.
What? What do you mean?
I've heard that this is dangerous country for an Easterner.
Oh, you... what do you mean?
Look here, stranger. I don't know who you are, and I don't care. My friend and I don't feel sociable. Savvy?
I'm not always sociable myself. But you look like Easterners, and I thought I'd warn you to be careful what you drink when you go west from here.
What do you mean?
A few miles beyond the end of the tracks is a place called Vulture Country. The water around there isn't dependable.
And some of it's poison.
Oh, yes, we've heard about that.
Oh?
Well, thanks for the warning. Now, if you're through...
There's one thing more. Maybe your friend here has something to cure a burn. Doctor, do you have anything to put on a burn?
Well, How did you know I was a doctor?
You look like one in this little bag you had on the saddle.
Where did you get that?
I brought it in with me. Took it from the doctor's saddle to save him going out after it. I'd like to have something for a burn.
I'll get it.
Well, of all the nerve I never...
It's all right, John. Just a minute, mister.
Here, let me open that. Do your hands tremble like that all the time?
I've got a tin here that...
Now, what's this stuff?
It's just medicine, that's all. Medicine. You wouldn't understand. A Latin name. Now, here, take this. Rub it on the burn. Take it all. You're welcome to it.
Thank you, Doctor. Now, if you two go into the vulture country, look out for the water you drink. Adios.
John, that man. His eyes. Did you notice them?
The nerve of him, the meddler. Why doesn't he mind his own business?
The way he looked at me. The way he spoke. Kimberly, let's get away from here tonight, now.
We're going to sleep here.
No, I can't.
We can't go on tonight. The horses need rest, and so do I. Come on in back and we'll get rooms.
That feeling. Something is going to happen before morning. I tell you, I know it.
Oh, shut up.
Before morning, something is going to happen.
The curtain falls on the first act of our Lone Ranger story. Before the next exciting scenes, please permit us to pause for just a few moments. Continue our story. When the stranger left the cafe with a small tin of burn remedy in his hand, he joined an Indian in the shadow of the hotel where even the faint light of a new moon didn't reach.
Tonto, now I'll take my mask and the other hat.
I'm ready for you. You talked to Doctor?
Yes, and I saw the inside of his bag.
And what there?
A box of powder. Poison enough to kill a small army.
That's what you say maybe happened.
I'm still convinced that we can protect Jim and Harry best by keeping an eye on those two. But I can't forget.
What that?
Kimberly hired half a dozen men for something. It was only a week ago.
That's right.
We haven't found out why he hired them. I wish we knew that. There. The mask is snug enough now. Now, Tonto, there's a job for you to do.
What me do?
The rooms are in the rear of the hotel. Come with me.
Silence of a cat, Tonto and the Lone Ranger moved through the darkness. They heard the distant sound of a passing train and paused.
Tonto, that's the westbound. We'll reach the end of the tracks in half an hour. Jim and Harry will get off. In the morning, they'll be in the saddle, and then... I wonder...
A little later, Dr. Manson tossed fitfully in his bed, while across the room, John Kimberly was deep in sleep. Suddenly, the doctor wakened. He didn't know why. Once more, he felt that creeping, tingling apprehension that was driving him to desperation. He turned and stared at the dimly outlined square of the window, and then...
There! He's there!
What's the matter? Doc! Doc!
I saw him. I tell you, I saw him at the window. I shot him.
Hey, you confounded crazy fool. Keep your hands off that gun till I get a light going.
It couldn't have been a dream. It couldn't have been. What's the matter there? What's all the shooting?
Hey, it's all right. Just a nightmare, that's all.
Well, cut out the shooting. John, I know I saw him. I saw his head and shoulders there at the window. It was as plain as day.
There's no sign of anyone being in this room.
But I tell you,
This is about enough of your harem-scarum imaginings. Everything here is just the same way we left it. Now I'm going to turn out the lamp and you go to sleep. Another yip out of you and I'll make you take some of your own medicine.
Daybreak found Jim and Harry in the saddle, heading west. The country ahead was grim and lifeless. This was called the vulture country, where many of the springs and water holes were poisonous and marked with warning signs.
Even if we don't find warning signs, we won't drink the water, Harry. No use taking chances on it.
Our canteens will last us till we reach the next construction camp.
Hey, what's that?
Those men look as if they're trying to catch up to us.
Who are they? Do you know?
How would I know? Don't look like any of our men.
Rain up there! We want a few words with you.
Hey, he's yelling at us. Might as well do as he says. Oh, there. Oh, boy.
We want a word with you.
What do you want?
Are they the ones, Bart?
What's your name, stranger?
Why?
Well, if you're Jim Warren and Harry Miles, we got word for you.
My name is Jim Warren.
Good. Take 'em, boys.
Hey, what's the idea?
They want to fight.
Go, Jim. Drop 'em.
As the outlaws closed in, Jim and Harry swung their horses away from the trail and headed for a great cluster of rocks. Neither man had any thought of gunplay. They reined in their mounts to a sliding stop and leaped from the saddle. Then, with their backs against the rocks, they prepared to fight to the finish with their bare fists. They survived the first charge, but before the second, some of the gang had climbed to the top of the rocks behind them. First, a well-aimed blow from the butt of a gun knocked Harry to the ground. Jim turned to meet the new attack. The gang leader closed in. Another blow and...
Don't make any marks on them. Handle them careful now. Take them to the vulture's nest and hurry it up. The boss may show up right away. He might not show up for several days. And these gents will have to wait until he gets there. He'll do the talking.
The unconscious figures of the two men were supported in their saddles by members of the attacking gang. The ride was several miles to the south, where dense forest surrounded an old ramshackle house that had long since been unoccupied. When Jim and Harry regained consciousness, they found themselves bound hand and foot, stretched on a floor of rotting and decaying boards with thick draperies of cobwebs overhead. One day went by, and then part of the second. No one had entered the room where Jim and Harry lay in torment from the ropes that bound them. Hunger and thirst made them weak, and their minds were filled with questions that could not be answered. Then the door of the room creaked slowly.
Last, someone's coming.
About time.
Kimberly. John Kimberly, you. Well, boys, you seem to have gotten yourselves in trouble. What happened?
Get these ropes off us. Where did you come from?
I found the trail, the signs of a scuffle. I've been trying to overtake you so we could talk. Maybe we can make a deal of some sort.
A deal?
Well, I guess you boys know how much I want to get control of this railroad.
Well, we sure do. You've got to prove to us that you didn't have a hand in the way we were waylaid.
I'll prove that easily enough. There. Your hands are free, Miles. Rub your wrists and get the circulation restored. I'll untie Warren here.
What do you mean by talking deal with us?
Well, as long as you hold control of the railroad job, maybe you'll let me invest some cash. Oh, but we'll get to that later. First thing is to get you two away from here before these crooks get back.
Where are they?
Yeah, they rode away. Over here. Drink of water.
Oh, thanks. Pass that canteen, Jim. My throat is parched.
Well, can you hold it? My hands are numb.
I'll manage as well as you did.
Don't drink too much now. Take it easy.
It sure tastes good.
Well, I'm certainly glad to hear you say that.
What? Kimberly.
Come on in, boys.
Drinking? Kimberly?
Yeah.
You're in cahoots with these crooks.
Outwitted you at last, huh? You thought you were smart. But you're not smart enough for John Kimberly. I get what I want one way or another.
You gave us poison water.
And you said it was good. You enjoyed it.
Posed as a friend. Talked about a deal. Why, you dirty coyote.
And that letter you sent to Washington won't do a bit of good. Let them investigate your death. They'll find that you were careless, that you drank bad water.
With us out of the way, you'll get the railroad.
Why, you...
Just a minute.
Say, what? Mask? Who's that? What do you want?
in there, Dr. Manson. You're in on this, too.
Kimberly, he and an Indian came from the woods.
Steady, Bart. Don't reach for that gun. Kill me and you'll regret it. See this bottle? White powder, isn't it?
Kimberly, we've all drank poison water.
What's that?
What do you mean? Manson, what do you mean?
That man, he outwitted us. He has the poison from my bag. I saw him. He poured it in the water you and your men have been drinking.
Why didn't you tell us?
He wouldn't give me a chance. He had me watched. That Indian, Tonto we call him. Tonto was ready to shoot if I said a word. I've taken the water as well as the rest of you.
Yes, you have. Well, you cowardly fool. You idiot. Why didn't you say something?
I couldn't. Look at the guns. There's the Indian.
Wait. There's no need to die.
Well, if I'm to die, I'll see a couple of you go first. You, Doc Manson, you.
No, you don't. Hey. Now, the next time, I'll use a bullet to knock a gun down. Now, listen to me. There was medicine in the doctor's bag. Medicine that will counteract the effects of the poison. I have it here. See it?
Give it to me. Give it to me. I'll pay any price. I'll buy it. Let me have it.
I don't want to sell it, Kimberly. I'll give this medicine to all of you. The doctor will tell you what it will do.
It's an antidote. It'll make the poison harmless, but it has to be taken quickly.
Well, how about it? You, Bart. Do you want the medicine? How about the rest of you men?
You bet we do. We don't deserve to die. It was all Kimberly's scheme. He's the one that's
I'll
to blame
give this
for all
bottle
this.
to you for Kimberly's signed confession.
But I don't...
You know what I want, Kimberly. Confession of your part in the plot to overthrow the government. Your part in the Black Arrow. Your scheme to control the railroads. Your attempt to murder Jim and Harry. Here. Everything you've done is written as a confession, ready for you to sign.
I won't sign any such thing. I'll be jailed for life.
Well, Bart, you and the rest heard him.
Kimberly, you're going to sign.
Yeah, we'll see to that.
Wait, boys, wait. Maybe he's bluffing.
He isn't bluffing. I know. I saw him use the white powder.
We're taking no chances. Sign that paper.
Sign it to you.
Wait, don't. Sign or I'll clamp down with this grip. Me too.
Boys. Wait, I'll sign.
Here's a pencil. The rest of you will sign as witnesses.
Harry, do you know what this means?
Kimberly in jail.
Out of our way, out of every honest man's way.
I've signed.
Now, the rest of you. Sign and be quick.
While the men signed the confession, the Lone Ranger sent Tonto outside to bring up Scout and Silver. And he saw that Jim and Harry were able to hold guns and keep the outlaws covered.
We'll keep them covered, all right. You needn't worry about that.
I'll have the lawman back here inside of 3 hours.
Oh, we're all signed. Now let's have that bottle.
Here it is. But, men, you needn't take the powder.
What?
Needn't take it.
The doctor will remember the night in town when he thought someone came into the hotel room.
I do. Kimberly, you said I was dreaming.
He was wrong. That was Tonto. He took the poison from your bag and replaced it with a harmless salt. It was that you saw put in the drinking water.
We were tricked. Double-crossed, framed.
And Kimberly, you sure as thunder had it coming. Now, you crooks line up, and we'll keep you till the sheriff comes.
Tonto will stay with you, Jim. I won't be long. Steady, boy. I'll Silver! Away!
you have just heard is a copyrighted feature of the Lone Ranger Incorporated.
That was The Lone Ranger in an episode titled The Vulture's Nest from February 23rd, 1942. That wraps up hour number 1 of Classic Radio Rewind. There's more to come from hour number 2 when Classic Radio Rewind returns in just a moment. Welcome back to hour number 2 of Classic Radio Rewind. I am your host, Barry Slinker, and to kick this second hour off, we have an episode from the Aldrich family. The boys are having a hard time earning enough money to buy a car. So from December 14th, 1942, and don't worry, this isn't a Christmas episode, it's the Aldrich family with The Roadside Stand.
Now it's the Aldrich family on NBC.
Henry Aldrich.
Coming, Mother?
Yes, it's the Aldrich family as transcribed, written by Clifford Goldsmith. Adults think they have problems, but a teenager also has his share of them, and if he's a typical American boy like Henry Aldrich, it seems there's no end of problems. One bumps right smack into another one, and the search for solutions is always a desperate one. The scene opens in the Aldrich kitchen. The time is afternoon.
Now listen, Homer, let me squeeze the next lemon.
Why don't you be getting the sugar out, Henry?
I already got it. Come on, it's my turn to run the juicer.
Okay.
Henry! Yes, Mother?
Where are you?
Homer and I are just sort of here in the kitchen.
I thought you promised Homer's father you'd wash his dog.
We are washing it, Mother.
In the kitchen?
Well, no, Mrs. Aldrich. Smoothie stayed outside for the time being. Sure, we just came in for a drink of water.
So you're making lemonade.
Well, Mother, you know how warm you get chasing a dog.
No, I'm afraid I don't. And you'd better finish that dog before Will Brown comes back.
Oh, he's over fixing our furnace, Mrs. Aldrich, with Henry's father. We got all the time in the world.
Well, Sam, I must say that I am a little warm.
Oh, boy, Homer, is that your father already?
We better hurry, Henry.
Come on out in the kitchen, Will. We'll see what we can find. That sounds good to me. I sure am thirsty.
Hello, Father.
Hello, boys. You all finished?
That's just what we were going to ask you.
Well, I guess I owe you boys 35 cents, huh?
35 cents, Father?
For washing the dog. Here you are.
Well, you really don't have to pay us right now, Mr. Brown.
Oh, here, take it. How does Smoothie look?
Boy, she certainly was a sight.
I'll say she was. Where is she?
Out and back.
Here, Smoothie.
Father, wouldn't you like some swell lemonade first?
Lemonade?
Here, you can have my glass, Mr. Brown. And here, Father, you take Homer's glass.
I don't want to deprive you, boys.
Oh, gosh, Father, it's no deprivacy at all.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, that certainly hits the spot, boy. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome, Father.
Now I'll go out and back and take a look at Smoothie.
Well, first, won't you have another glass of lemonade?
Oh, I'd like to see Smoothie.
Oh, come on, Will. Let's go in the living room and relax. I'm tired.
Well, maybe you're right, Sam. Come to think of it, I'm pretty tired myself.
Much obliged for the lemonade, boys.
Oh, that's all right, Father. That's the least we could have done for you.
Henry, let's hurry up and finish up on Smoothie.
Sure. As soon as we make a little lemonade for ourselves. Hey, boy, this is some juicer.
With this 35 cents, Henry, how much do we have?
$12.
Boy. All we need is $3 more, and we'll have enough for a down payment on that car we saw.
The only trouble is, Homer, how are we going to get $3 more?
Why don't we go into business?
What kind of business?
Well, something we've had experience in. Like washing dogs.
You mean for people?
Sure. They're the only ones who have money.
Gee, Homer, maybe you got something there.
You're darn right.
It's taking a lot longer to do Smoothie than I thought it would. I think we ought to charge 50 cents. Oh, boy, we're all out of lemons, Homer. Only I know what we do have in the icebox.
What?
And I'd like to try it on the squeezer, too. It's a pineapple.
Gee whiz, I sure like pineapple.
Yeah, it's already got the bottom cut off. Stand back now while I put it on here.
Hang on, Henry.
Look, Homer, look what it does to it. Boy, will we have some drink.
Only thing is, Henry, will we charge the same price to wash your Great Dane as we do a Fox Terrier?
Well, naturally, we'll charge different prices for different sizes. Then for thoroughbreds, we'll have to charge a lot extra.
Oh, sure. They need a more delicate soap.
Homer, you know what else we ought to squeeze in here?
What?
Look, in the icebox, here's half a cantaloupe. Why didn't I think of that before?
Sure. Step the motor up first, though, Henry.
Here we go, Homer.
Henry, look at what you did.
Why didn't you jump out of the way?
The seeds are all over me.
Oh, don't worry about those, Homer. Hey, here, just take a taste of what we've made here.
Well, how is it?
Boy, I think we've got something.
Gee whiz, I'll say we have.
How about patenting it?
Could we patent a thing like this?
Well, sure, why not? It's our own personal formula. Every time anybody wants a glass full, they send us so much money.
Whether they like it or not?
Sure.
How would they know where we live?
We'll send them our address. Or maybe we could have our own roadside stand.
Let's have a little more of that punch, Henry.
Hey, how about a roadside stand?
In December, Henry?
Come on, Sam. Homer, I thought you said you washed Smoothie.
Well, we did get her half-washed, Father.
Well, what's she supposed to do? Finish the job herself?
Well, we didn't think we ought to rush her into it, Mr. Brown. She was so warm by the time we caught her, we thought she ought to cool off first.
Well, I'll just take back that 35 cents until she does cool off.
Well...
Homer?
Yes, Father. The real reason we haven't finished Smoothie is because we had to work out this special drink.
For Smoothie?
Gosh, no, Father, for our roadside stand.
What roadside stand?
Didn't you know? So we can get enough money to make a down payment on our car.
Well, you just forget your roadside stand until next summer.
Yeah, but Father, if we don't get a car, Henry and I'll have to walk wherever we go.
Good. Suppose you start walking toward that dog.
Yes, Father.
Homer, what happened to your face?
Cantaloupe seeds.
I'll go with you, Homer, and hold her while you wash her.
Oh, I better hold her, Henry. She's pretty ticklish.
Well, what harm can it do if the boys run a roadside stand?
I don't know, but instinct tells me no.
Personally, I like their initiative. They ought to be encouraged.
Only I don't think the boys need a car, not in the winter anyhow.
Don't be absurd, Will. They'll never actually earn enough to get a car.
No, but why take a chance? Hey, let's have some more of this lemonade.
Here, Will. Well, we'll both have a lot less trouble on our hands if we let them try their luck as businessmen.
And we'll have still less if we don't. Well, here's to us.
Here's to us.
Ooh, this drink. It's okay, Sam. Let the boys have their roadside stand. They won't get any car.
Refreshments, mister? Delicious punch? Ice cold, homemade punch? Boy, there were a lot of people in that car, too.
Henry, I'm getting colder by the minute.
Well, here, have another glass of punch.
Could we warm it up a little first?
Hey, Homer, maybe that's the trouble.
What is?
Maybe we should be featuring our hot dogs.
Sure, that's an idea. Boy, if everybody is as cold as I am...
I'll try it. Get your hot dogs here. Red hot hot dogs.
Hot dogs with mustard. Red hot mustard. Maybe they've got a heater in their car.
Hey, here comes another one.
Get your hot dogs here. Red hot dogs here. With mustard. Red hot.
Gee whiz, he wouldn't even stop.
What time do you think it is, Henry?
Oh, it isn't so late.
Seems like an awful long time since the sun went down. I'm cold.
Gee whiz, Homer, we can't quit after investing all our money in this stuff. We got nearly $4 tied up here.
Henry, it stands to reason. If we've only sold 25 cents worth since 3 this afternoon, we're never going to sell $4 worth this late.
Yeah, but we're paying rent to the guy that owns this stand. We've got to get full use out of it.
Now I know why we got it so cheap.
Hey, here comes a car. Refreshments, mister? Hot dogs? Peanut butter sandwiches?
Henry, do you suppose our location has anything to do with it?
Our location?
Well, maybe it isn't good to be on a curve that's on the side of a hill.
People get hungry on curves.
Well, the fellow that owns this place couldn't even sell gas. Hey, here comes another car.
I'll stop it. Hey, mister, refreshments, sandwiches, hot dogs for a cold day?
Henry, he's stopping. He's stopping.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy.
Yes, sir.
2 quarts of oil.
Oil? And I'm sorry, but we don't carry oil.
What you got those signs up for?
Oh, those are from another guy. He went broke.
Looks as though you're going to do all right, too.
Thanks. How about a delicious drink?
Yeah, that sounds good. Nice hot cup of coffee sure would warm me up.
We haven't got coffee.
What have you got?
Ice cold punch.
Ice cold punch? On a night like this?
It's got pineapple and cantaloupe and strawberries and...
Gee whiz, he didn't even say goodbye.
Anyhow, we stopped. That's encouraging.
Let's drink a little more punch.
You drink it. I don't want any more. I'm all goose pimples.
You gotta eat something, Homer, to keep up your strength.
Henry, maybe we shouldn't have told our folks we wouldn't be home for dinner tonight.
Homer, somebody stop.
Hey, got any hot dogs?
Yes, sir.
Let's have 5 to take out to the car.
Yes, sir. 5. Homer, where'd you go? Homer?
Yeah, what do you have, Henry?
Make it 5.
Yes, sir. Coming up. 5 what?
Hot dogs. Didn't I tell you, Homer? It was just a case of sticking to it.
Will it take very long, Mac?
No, sir. You'll have them right away. Homer, which bag are they in?
Haven't you got them on the fire?
We ate all we cooked. But it won't take any time at all, sir. All we have to do is build a fire.
Build a fire?
Homer, go out and find some kindling.
Never mind, Mac.
Can't you wait?
I've got to make the coast by Wednesday.
I know, but wait. How about some peanut butter sandwiches? Or some delicious new punch?
Henry, we're farther away from getting our car than we ever were.
Well, all I can say, Homer, is I don't like your talking as though what we're doing is a mistake.
All I can tell you, Henry, is how things look to me.
All right, then, all right. Now I suppose you want to quit. Just when people are beginning to stop.
Sure. I'm going home. And I'm taking my share of the hot dogs, too.
Okay, Homer. I expected it all the time. Hey, gee whiz, what's that?
It's a car.
Is it a customer?
Hello there.
What can we do for you?
How far is it to the next town?
Centerville's in back of you.
Yeah, I know. We just came from there. Isn't a room left in town?
Joseph, let's drive on. I don't like talking to strange men on the road.
Oh, we're not men.
Oh, my goodness, Joseph, he's throwing a gun.
This isn't a gun, it's a hot dog.
Millie, be yourself. You boys don't have any cabins here, do you?
No, sir.
Well, I'm not going any further tonight.
Would you like to sleep here in our road stand?
Does it have heat and running water?
Well, no, not exactly.
Do you know of any place we could get a room? I'd pay anything in reason.
Hey? Would it have to be a hotel?
Any place at all, just so long as it has some beds.
Well, of course you could stay at my house.
We could?
They could, Henry?
Are there just the two of you?
Well, there's my husband here, and our 2 grandchildren asleep in the back seat.
Well...
How much do you charge a night?
Well...
Alice, you asleep yet?
What is it, Sam?
Is Henry in?
No, dear, I've been listening for him.
Well, he'll be along.
Dear, I'm worried to death. They're out there on that main highway all alone, and it's cold.
They'll take care of themselves, all right.
They didn't even come home for dinner.
They probably ate their own hot dogs and enjoyed them.
Listen, Sam. Isn't that a car stopping in front of the house?
Probably somebody bringing Henry home.
Well, it may be my imagination, but it sounds as if there were 5 or 6 getting out of that car.
Now, Alice, there aren't 5 or 6 getting out of it. Henry and Homer are probably unloading the dishes he borrowed.
Was that the front door I just heard?
I hope so. Either that or the furnace exploding.
Henry? Henry?
What is it, Mother?
Be sure to lock the door, dear.
I have locked it. And, Father, can I ask you something?
Not tonight, Henry. It's time to go to bed.
But it won't take more than a second.
How was business, son?
Well, not very good at the beginning, but let me tell you how we ended up.
I'm glad you did so well, but not tonight.
Yeah, but, Mother, just let me tell you.
Henry, your father and I both want to get to sleep.
You don't think you'd be even slightly interested?
Please close the door.
Yes, Father, but I just want to say that business is very good.
Don't get up too early, dear.
No, Mother. Mister. Oh, mister, are you down there?
How about these suitcases, young man?
Just a minute, I'll be right down. My folks seem to have gone to bed.
What time do you serve breakfast?
Oh, gee whiz. Just come down any time you like.
Father?
I'm eating breakfast. Well, Homer, what are you doing up so early?
Father, I've been thinking about something all night. I've got an idea.
Roadside stand business?
Well, that's sort of what I want to talk to you about. Father, why don't we take in roomers?
Yeah, rumors? Homer, what would we do with rumors?
Let them sleep. There's big money in it.
There is?
Sure. Henry Aldrich made $5 last night. He took home 4 guests.
He did?
And now he's going to charge them 25 cents each for breakfast.
Do his folks know about it?
Well, not yet, I don't think.
Homer, you don't mean to say that Sam Aldrich is going to wake up this morning and find 4 strange people in his house?
Sure. Won't he be surprised to get all that money?
Oh, this is too good to miss.
Hey, Homer!
Where are you, Henry?
Out on the front porch. Come on up to town with me.
What for?
Well, before my folks get up, I've got to get some oranges, eggs, and pablum.
We'll return to the Aldrich family in just a moment. Tonight, Phil Harris and Elliot Lewis decide to go big game hunting. But Phil and Elliot track their prey through the wilds of Hollywood, not Africa, when they discover that their sponsor wants an elephant for Christmas. So stay tuned in for laughs on the Phil Harris Alice Faye Show. 2 more Hollywood stars will be our featured players in this evening's Theater Guild on the Air broadcast, when Joan Fontaine and Francho Tone appear in Edith Wharton's House of Mirth. Next on NBC comes Adventure with Dragnet and Barry Craig, confidential investigator. On Dragnet, Sergeant Joe Friday is assigned to cover a narcotic killing, while Barry Craig will bring out the file marked Holiday for Murder when he recounts this week's case history. So stay tuned to NBC tonight for the Phil Harris Alice Faye Show, Theater Guild on the Air, Dragnet, and Barry Craig, confidential investigator. It's NBC for the tops in entertainment. Well, now, getting back to the troubles of Henry Aldrich. Henry and his friend Homer have gone into the roadside stand business. On their first night at work, a party of 4 came along looking for rooms, and Henry, the complete businessman, took them to his house, only to find his parents had retired. The scene opens in the Aldrich dining room, the time the next morning.
Sam! Sam!
I'm all ready for breakfast, Alice.
Is Henry up?
Well, I thought he was down here. He isn't in his room.
Oh, I certainly hope he hasn't gone back to his road stand.
Now, Alice, stop worrying. There's nothing wrong with Henry having spunk enough to go out and try to earn a little money.
Well, I know,
Frankly,
but...
I like to see it, and we ought to do everything we can to encourage it.
Oh, perhaps you're right, Sam. Dear, what's that car doing out in front?
What car?
The one with the Illinois license on it.
Oh. Apparently the Kilmers next door are having guests. Why don't they park in front of their own house?
Well, now, sit down and drink your orange juice. I'll go out and get your eggs started.
Where's my paper?
Right there on the table.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Sam, listen, isn't that Henry walking around upstairs?
It couldn't be.
Well, it certainly can't be Mary. She's away, dear.
Then you don't hear any footsteps. It's your imagination. I heard Henry come down half an hour ago.
And, Sam, where do you suppose all those things on the kitchen table came from?
What things?
A dozen oranges, 2 dozen eggs, and a box of pablum.
Didn't you order them from the store?
Pablum? Of course I didn't.
Well, the grocer probably made a mistake. Well, here's an embarrassing situation some fellow walked into. Did you read about it in the paper?
No, what is it?
He lives in one of those real estate developments where all the houses look alike. And he came home the other night and went to bed, and when he got up the next morning, he found he'd slept in the wrong house.
Imagine a thing like that.
Not only that, he slept in the wrong pajamas.
Oh?
And not only
Sam. Here are your eggs and coffee. Dear, if you want anything more, I'll be out in the kitchen.
Thank you, dear.
Good morning. Is this the dining room in here?
I beg your pardon?
What state are you from?
What state?
Yeah, I'm from Illinois. Name's Jackson. Say, how are the meals here?
Why, I've never heard any complaints.
I hope they're better than the beds, that's for sure. How did you sleep last night?
Fairly well. You know someone here at this house?
No, not a soul. We're total strangers here.
We? How many of you are there?
My wife and myself and 2 grandchildren. We were going to bring their Aunt Molly, too, but she got sick at the last minute. It's her old trouble. The way that woman's ankles swell up.
I'm sorry to hear it.
Say, how do you get service around here? If there's one thing I don't like to do, it's wait.
Sam, it is not necessary for you to tap on a glass when you want something. All you have to do is...
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
1 order of buckwheat cakes.
Buckwheat cakes?
With syrup. And send up 2 soft-boiled eggs to my wife.
Sam.
Alice, this gentleman is from Illinois.
It's very nice, I'm sure.
The children are coming down later.
Oh, dear. If you'll excuse me, I'll go back to the kitchen.
Not a bad looker, that's for sure.
Well, thank you. I think so, too.
Joseph, are you downstairs?
What do you want, Millie?
Come here a minute.
Okay. Hey, if anybody tries to take my place here, tell them it's took, will you?
Why don't you just tip your chair up?
Good idea. When you're through with that newspaper, save it for me, will you?
Yes, I will. Alice! Alice!
Yes, dear.
Alice, are we in the right house?
Sam, who is that? Who is that man? Where did you meet him?
I don't know any more about him than you do. Personally, I'd say the fellow was lost and doesn't know it.
Where is he now?
Upstairs. He thinks there are grandchildren up there.
Oh, my goodness. And you're sitting there letting an insane man wander around the house without doing anything?
What would you suggest I do?
Put him out, dear.
Oh, that's all there is to it?
Perhaps he's suffering from amnesia. You don't have to speak sharply to him. Just lead him gently to the door and tell him to go.
The only thing is, supposing he resents it.
Well, if you speak to him carefully, he won't.
Shh, he's coming back downstairs. You better step into the kitchen.
Yes, dear, only be careful, Sam.
My griddle cakes here yet?
Well, no, they aren't. Frankly, this service here is very poor. If I were you, I'd take my family and try the mansion house downtown. The front door is right out that way.
Where can we get a doctor?
A doctor?
Yeah, for the grandchildren.
Oh, yes, the grandchildren.
Hey, where in the heck are my griddle cakes?
I'll try to get them for you.
Yes? Are you calling me?
1 order of griddle cakes, and when you have time, please call a doctor.
A doctor?
That's right, a doctor and griddle cakes. That's what Mr. Jackson wants, and we do want to keep him happy. That's for sure.
Sam, have you any idea where Henry might have gone when he left the house this morning?
No, and if he knows what's good for him, he won't come home. Has the doctor come yet?
He's upstairs now, and Mr. Jackson is out on the porch. Why don't you ask him what time he's leaving?
I did. Sometime before dinner. Until then, we'll simply have to bear with him.
Sam, here comes another car. It's stopping right in front of the house.
If Henry has sent any more people here...
Oh, it's only Will Brown.
Oh, if he asks for me, I don't want to see him. We'll never hear the end of this.
Good morning. Do the Aldriches live here?
Yes, sir, only I don't know whether they have any more rooms or not.
Open up, Sam. I know you're in there. Oh, hello, Sam. Alice. Just thought I'd come over and see how business is.
Well, business is fine, thank you.
Mighty nice place you've got. It's all right for a visit, but I wouldn't care to live here.
Now, look here, Will.
Where do I register?
Will, have you seen Henry or Homer?
Well, not for the last hour.
What were they doing when you did see them?
Talking about going down to the railroad station and meeting the incoming trains.
What's that?
Who can that be?
Probably an inquiry about rates.
Hello? Yeah? What? No. Absolutely no. Yes, that's right. And if Henry's there, please tell him to come home. Oh, he left some time ago? Very well. Goodbye.
Sam, you shouldn't turn any guests down like that. It isn't the way to build goodwill.
That wasn't a guest, Will. It was Mr. Sparrow. He called about a car the boys are trying to to buy on time payments.
They still want to get that old car?
Oh, no, not anymore. Mr. Sparrow says that now they're interested in a station wagon. They need it for their business.
Well, why not let them get it, Sam? Didn't you say I like their initiative? They ought to be encouraged.
Listen, Will, I've taken quite enough from you.
Sam, the doctor wants to see you.
He wants to see me?
Yes, dear.
Oh, you got a doctor staying here, too.
Dear, don't even speak to Will.
You look upset, Alice. What's the matter?
I am upset. Do you know what the doctor thinks? The 2 grandchildren have the measles.
Measles? Well, I guess I'll be running along.
Will, do you know what that means? We'll be cooped up with that whole family for nearly 3 weeks.
Father! Is Father here, Mr. Brown?
He's upstairs, Henry. If I were you, I wouldn't go up. He's with a doctor.
What's that?
Alice!
Yes, Sam?
The doctor wants to see you next.
Oh, dear, what is it now?
Gee, Father, I hope nothing's wrong. Did Mr. Sparrow call?
He did.
Did you tell him you'd vouch for my credit?
I certainly did not.
But, Father, we're making money hand over fist.
Henry, do you realize that those guests you brought home may be quarantined here?
Oh, boy, at the regular rates?
Henry, what is it you want? A credit reference with Mr. Sparrow?
Yes, sir.
Well, anybody as enterprising as you deserves one.
You mean you'll help us, Mr. Brown?
I'd be glad to.
Will Brown.
Oh, boy.
So long, Sam. What harm can it do if we help the boy? Wasn't that what you said, Sam?
Sam! The doctor says that what the children have is one of 2 things.
Something worse than the measles?
No, he says it might just possibly be a strawberry rash. The only trouble is Mrs. Jackson doesn't remember giving the children any strawberries yesterday.
Sure, Mother, they had strawberries yesterday.
When?
In the punch.
Well, my goodness, Henry.
Is there anything you and Homer didn't put in that punch?
Well, not that I can think of offhand.
Oh, then it is a rash, and Sam just think we won't be quarantined. Oh, the house is our own again.
Oh, Mr. Aldrich.
Yes, Mrs. Jackson?
I just wanted to say that if we find it is due to strawberries, we'll be leaving the first thing in the morning.
You mean you're staying another...
Henry!
Yes, Mother?
Come out in the kitchen right this minute.
Yeah, I'll be right there. Will it take long? Homer and I are supposed to meet the bus from Chicago.
Wait a minute.
Mr. Aldrich, I want you to know that we're going to tell everybody about your lovely roadhouse.
Well, Mrs. Jackson, I'm afraid that all of our rooms for tonight are taken.
You mean you're all filled up?
Yep.
We can't stay?
I can't tell you how disappointed I am, but there's another place in town that I can recommend. The rooms are even more comfortable than ours.
Oh, where is it?
And as soon as you're packed, I'll show you the way over there. Now, if you'll excuse me,
Well,
please.
that's very nice of you.
Operator, get me Centerville 631. Yes, please.
I'll go right up and get packed.
Splendid. Henry, I want to have a talk with you.
Sam, are you really going to let Henry buy a station wagon on credit?
Over my dead body. Hello, is this the Artcraft Sign Company? I'd like to order a small sign, Rush. It's to read, Rooms for Rent, Tourists Welcome. Got that? Fine. And take it over and stick it on the front lawn of Will Brown's house.
The National Guard, an all-volunteer organization of citizen soldiers with units and armories in more than 2,200 communities in every state, offers many advantages to young men, especially those in the 17 to 18-and-a-half-year age group, those who are facing a military obligation. These include the opportunity to begin training to defend their country while living at home and going to school or working at a civilian job. Pay for each weekly drill night and 2-week summer camp, valuable technical training and leadership development that leads to advancement and increased earning power, opportunities for an officer's commission, retirement benefits, facilities for sports and social activities. Additional information and materials explaining the National Guard and its advantages may be obtained from the Information Office, National Guard Bureau, Pentagon, Washington 25, D.C.
But, Father, if you don't want to take in any more roomers, would you at least be willing to let me build some cabins?
Where?
Out in the yard.
Henry, you may not build any cabins in our yard.
Gee whiz, Father, with all my ideas for making money, you just discourage me.
On the contrary, Henry, I'm going to let you make some money.
How, Father?
From now on, for every idea you get, I'll pay you $1 not to use it.
The Aldrich Family is transcribed is written by Clifford Goldsmith. Henry is played by Bobby Ellis and Homer by Jack Grimes. Mr. and Mrs. Aldrich are House Jameson and Catherine Roth. Your announcer is Dick Dudley. Listen again next week, same time, same station, for another sparkling half hour with the Aldrich Family.
Good night, everybody.
Tonight, it's the Phil Harris Alice Faye Show on NBC.
That was The Roadside Stand from the Aldrich Family, as originally heard December 14th, 1942. And lastly on Classic Radio Rewind is an episode from The Whistler. A man fed up with his nagging wife resorts to poisoning her, intending to claim her life insurance. To make it appear as a suicide, he leaves behind a murder mystery book shopping list as a note. So from December 3rd, 1945, it's The Whistler with Poison is Quicker.
The Signal Oil Program, The Whistler. That whistle is your signal for the Signal Oil Program, The Whistler.
I am the Whistler, and I know many things, for I walk by night. I know many strange tales hidden in the hearts of men and women who have stepped into the shadows. Yes, I know the nameless terrors of which they dare not speak.
Yes, friends, it's time for the Signal Oil Program, The Whistler. Rated by independent research, the most popular program on the West Coast. Remember, let every traffic signal remind you, with new Signal gasoline, you do go farther than ever. Look for the familiar big yellow and black circle sign that identifies those popular signal stations in 7 western states from Canada to Mexico. And now the Whistler's strange story. Poison is quicker.
Most men lead lives of quiet desperation, said Thoreau. Quiet desperation. How well little Alfred Smithers, who never read a word by Thoreau in all his life, knew the meaning of that phrase. All the nagging dullness of a humdrum existence and a tiresome wife. Yes, the saucy little servant girl Alfred had married in London so many years before had become a lazy, slovenly housewife whose untidy little home had miraculously survived the Blitz. Now, with the coming of peace, Gracie Smithers sat in her dingy front parlor night after night, reading murder mysteries and yawning, while Alfred gazed blankly at his daily express and wished he were rid of her. Wished it with all his heart and did nothing about it.
Oh. Well, that's another one off me docket. The author didn't play fair, though. I still don't see how that little what's-his-name could have been the Crimson Hangman. What you thinking about, Alfie?
Nothing.
Still waters run deep, you know. You don't just sit there thinking about nothing. Only a perishing statue does that.
I was thinking about the days.
What?
The days aren't so bad. At least I have something to do at the office. At least I keep occupied.
What's the matter, Alfie? Getting the jitters?
Never mind.
Don't you like our happy little home all of a sudden?
If you must know the truth, Mrs. Smithers.
I say now, what's got your back up?
Oh, nothing.
Feeling sorry for yourself again, dearie?
Oh, shut up. Get back to your murder rubbish and don't bother me.
Really, Alfred Smithers?
Read, can't you? Let a man have a little peace and quiet.
There's nothing to read. I was hoping you'd pick up some more thrillers for me at the bargain shop tomorrow.
All right. What do you want me to get?
I wrote down the titles somewheres. Got them ready for you. Oh, yes, here they are. Dearest Alfred.
What's that?
Oh, don't get the wind up, lovey. It's only a book title.
Doesn't sound much like a murder mystery to me.
Perhaps it isn't. I thought I'd like to see the Alfred in real life if he's anything like Alfred in the book.
Very amusing.
The others are all thrillers, though. Death is my bridegroom. There gives you the creeps, don't it? Nobody loves me. That's a murder that looks like suicide.
Yeah.
This way out, a spine-chilling cat and mouse game, the catalogue says. I could hang. Don't know that one. And the last one, poison is quicker.
Rubbish. Nothing but tripe.
Alfred Smithers, you're a snob. Everybody reads murder novels.
I don't.
Oh, you've always thought yourself better than anybody else. Especially better than me. I've never been good enough for you.
That's for you to say, my dear.
That's a fine thing to say to your wife.
Give me a list, Gracie. I'll pick the books up tomorrow.
Well, okie doke. Here's the list. Be sure and get Poison is Quicker. It's all about somebody murdered for insurance. Stark realism, the catalogue says.
Cheap trash. Dearest Alfred, death is my bridegroom. Nobody loves me. This way out. I could hang. But poison is quicker. Dearest Alfred, death is my bridegroom. Nobody loves me. This way out. I could hang. But poison is quicker.
Alfred, what's the matter? Why are you shaking so?
I don't know. I must have caught a chill or something.
Almost like a note to you, isn't it, Alfred? The barely coherent elliptical style of a suicide note. If Gracie were dead and that note were found beside her body, you try not to think of it. Why, it's monstrous. You're thinking of murder. You want to be rid of her, but not that way. Still, if you simply left her, you'd have no money. And Gracie does have insurance. But poison is quicker, she said. Poison. That arsenic powder you used in the garden. The thoughts in your mind all that night and all the next day. It's coming out now from its hiding place deep inside you. And then when you return home that evening, it happens. The little push that makes you a murderer.
Well, where are they?
Where's what?
My books, dearie. You said you'd bring them home with you.
I'm sorry, Gracie. I forgot all about them.
You forgot?
Yes, Gracie. There are things on me mind.
Other things on your mind. Such an important little man, aren't we, Alfie? Can't keep a promise to your own wife.
I couldn't help it, Gracie. They slipped me mind.
Like fun they did. You done it deliberate. I know you did.
Gracie, don't raise your voice. It's vulgar.
Oh, so now I'm vulgar, am I? Well, if I'm not good enough to do things for, I'm not good enough to do things for you. You can make your own tea and toast tonight.
Don't shout at me, Gracie. Don't screech.
Oh, don't. I'm sick and tired of getting the frosty eye from you, dearie. You're not so high and mighty. Just a miserable little clerk in a dirty little office.
That'll do.
Oh, just a second, Your Highness.
Gracie! Don't. You'll only upset yourself. I'll make tea for the both of us.
You'll make none for me. That wishy-washy, weak stuff you'll brew for yourself. I'll make me own.
All right. For once, I'll do it your way.
Eh?
Tonight, I'll make it the way you want it, Gracie. Just as strong as you like.
With the prologue of tonight's story, Poison is Quicker, Signal Oil Company is bringing you another strange story by The Whistler. Inflation. You hear that word all around you these days. But in the midst of higher and higher prices and dollars that buy less and less, it's gratifying to find a product that actually offers more quality than ever before in history, but still sells at its pre-war price. Yet that's just what you get in new Signal gasoline. Of course, improvement isn't new to Signal gasoline. Since that day 14 years ago, when Signal Oil Company introduced the first guaranteed anti-knock gasoline at no extra price, Signal gasoline has been constantly improved to give you the benefit of every latest development in the automotive and petroleum industry. But today's Signal gasoline, in which the atoms in gasoline molecules have actually been rearranged to create amazing new power, is so superior to pre-war gasolines, it's really a completely new type super fuel. To discover what thrilling performance there's still left in your car, try just one tankful of new Signal gasoline. When you step on the accelerator, you'll know why Signal products, although still young in years, have grown and grown in popularity. Until today, those friendly stations displaying Signal's yellow and black circle sign now serve 7 western states from Canada to Mexico. And now, back to the Whistler.
But poison is quicker. Strange what a book title can do to a man, isn't it, Alfred? Who would think it could be the stepping-off place to murder? And yet Gracie's dead now, the victim of arsenic poisoning. And you are already playing a new role, the part of a shocked husband, the little man who seems so dazed and bewildered. It's only 4 hours after you made Gracie such a nice cup of tea, and now she's dead. And Police Sergeant Jellaby is questioning you. You're thankful you're still in the safety of your own home. You might lose your head if you were in the hostile atmosphere of a police station.
Are you sure you can't think of any reason why your wife would wish to take her own life, Mr. Smithers?
Not right now, Sergeant. I just can't think now.
I'm sure you understand we must get to the bottom of this unfortunate affair.
Of course.
Now, about the question of motive, then.
Well, the books. Might have been the books.
Books?
But it's such a tiny thing.
You'd better tell me about it, Mr. Smithers.
Well, my wife is very fond of reading. Last night she asked me to pick up some novels for her in the city today, and I was so busy that I forgot all about them. She was rather upset when I come home without them.
Upset enough to kill herself, Mr. Smithers?
Oh, good heavens, no. At least I didn't think so then.
You quarreled about it?
Oh, no, we never quarreled. She was upset, as I said, and it disturbed me.
In what way?
Oh, I felt rather guilty about failing her, so while she was making our tea,
Your wife made tea after your little incident?
Oh, yes, she always done that. She said I made such audible tea. Our neighbors can tell you that.
Who are they?
Well, there's Mrs. Applegate next door. She's a widow, and then there's Henry Small across the road.
I see. Go on, Mr. Smithers. You said you felt guilty.
Oh, yes, so I did. So while she was making the tea, I decided to surprise her. Make up for what I'd forgotten to do, like, you know.
In what way?
Well, I remembered the rental library on the Queen's Road might still be open, so I thought I'd better take a quick walk over there and pick up a few novels for her. I left the house without a word. Wanted to surprise her, like, see?
How long were you gone?
I left at 6:30. It was foggy, you know the way it gets this time of year. So I was longer than I'd bargained for. Over half an hour I was.
And these are the books you got her?
Yes, Embers of Desire and Love in the Desert. Sort of thing most women like to read.
Did your wife read this sort of thing as a general rule?
I don't know. I never much thought about the books she read.
What books did she ask you to get for her in the city?
Books?
Yes, what titles?
Oh, well, I know it's absurd, Sergeant, but I simply can't remember.
Are you quite sure?
Well, I just can't think of them. I mean, to say, I forgot about them in the first place, and now I'm so mixed up.
Perhaps it'll come to you later. Now about the note.
Yes?
Doesn't it strike you as rather odd?
I don't think I know what you mean, Sergeant.
Well, it isn't coherent, for one thing, and she didn't sign her name to it for another.
I thought of that. My wife, she must have been under great mental strain when she wrote it.
I can see that. Decided to take her life on a sudden impulse, eh? Must have thought you'd left the house in a fit of anger, then hurried about the business of writing the note and putting the arsenic in her tea.
It's a terrible thing to think about, ain't it, Sergeant?
Right. Arsenic poisoning's not the most pleasant of deaths. Since you weren't here to prevent it, perhaps it's just as well you didn't get home until it was all over.
Yes. Is that all, Sergeant?
Yes. You'll be notified when to appear for the inquest, Mr. Smithers. I'll see you then. Good night.
And so you've gotten away with murder, Alfred. Or have you? Is Sergeant Jellyby as stolid and blind as he seems? He certainly didn't seem too sympathetic. Was that merely his official manner, or does he suspect you? And was your trip to the rental library after you'd watched Gracie die as clever an alibi as you thought? You had to lie about the type of novel Gracie read. You deliberately brought home those trashy love stories to ward off any questions about the suicide note. But if Henry Small or Molly Applegate should remember that Gracie read mystery novels... you made a mistake there, Alfred. But it's too late to rectify it now. All you can do is attend the inquest with Molly Applegate and Henry Small on either side of it.
A nasty business, this, Alf. It'll soon be over, though. I hope so, Henry.
You'd think that the coroner's jury could have made up their minds by now. Can't see why they're taking so long about it.
Well, it really isn't so long, Mrs. Applegate. They've only been gone a few minutes.
An harrowing ordeal for you. That's what it is. I don't see how you could be so cool up there on the witness stand.
A man can't reveal his grief in public, Mrs. Applegate.
That he can't. You done yourself proud, Alf. Me, now, the few questions the coroner asked me, they had me shaking like a leaf.
Pretty silly, if you ask me.
How you mean, Molly?
The few questions he put to you. Didn't really need to call you as a witness. Same goes for me as far as that goes. I'm sure I could have told a sight more if I'd been asked.
Just what do you mean by that, Mrs. Applegate?
They're coming back. The jury's coming out.
Mrs. Applegate, I'd like to know what you...
Now, it is the coroner.
Members of the jury, have you reached a verdict?
We have.
How find you the case of the deceased Grace Smithers?
In the light of the evidence disclosed, we find the deceased Grace Smithers is suicide while of temporarily unsound mind.
Well, that's it, Alf. There it is.
My, yes. Nothing to worry about now.
What do you mean? Nothing to worry about.
Well, really, Mr. Smithers.
Well, what do you mean by it?
Nothing to make you bite me head off, I'm sure. Only that it's official now.
Oh, sorry, Mrs. Applegate. I'm not quite myself, you know.
Well, I didn't mean to snap at you myself.
You're right, of course. I haven't anything to worry about now. Nothing at all.
Nothing to worry about, Alfred. Then why is fear so clammy and cold inside you? You've always been afraid of so many things. And now you've actually killed Gracie, you're afraid you'll be found out. That's the greatest fear you've ever known. Murder was so easy, but that was only the beginning. What about Molly Applegate? What more could she have told if she'd been asked? The question haunts you all during the funeral and through the next day and the day after when the insurance man calls at the house.
Just one more question for our files, Mr. Smithers.
I don't see why I have to answer any more questions. You can get all your information from the police records.
It's a formality we have to follow, Mr. Smithers. My company's not in business for its health, you understand.
But surely I told you everything you want to know.
Just one more thing. What really made your wife take her own life?
That's in the evidence at the inquest. It's available to you.
My instructions are to get it in your own words. You want your wife's insurance, don't you, Mr. Smithers? No sense in going to pieces, you know. If I were in your shoes, you know what I'd do? Take a trip.
If you was in my shoes.
Yes, do you good. Now, what about your wife?
I guess the war was too much for her. She finally gave way after it was all over.
Sergeant Jellyby told me you said that.
Then you seen the police.
Well, it's part of my job, you know.
Is that all you want?
I think so. The money will come through in due time, Mr. Smithers. Good day.
Panic won't help you at all, Alfred. Still, Mr. Chatham, the insurance man, seemed much too suspicious, didn't he? Why all the leading questions? If he were in your shoes, he said, he'd go away. As if he knew that was already in your mind. Well, that's your plan now, isn't it? The moment you get your money, you'll go away, start all over again in another town, maybe even another country. You hold to that thought all the next day, and then you stop at the corner pub on your way home from the office and have a beer with your friend Henry.
Well, here's to you, Alf. A long life and no slip-ups.
No slip-ups?
Accidents. Hope nothing ever goes wrong for you. Cheerio.
Cheerio.
Oh, that's a bit of all right, what?
Yes, it is.
Ran into that insurance bloke this afternoon, Chatham.
You did?
Tells me you're thinking of going away.
What gave you that idea?
I don't know. Perhaps he didn't say that exactly. Said he mentioned it to you. Where are you thinking of going, Elf?
Well, I haven't got them.
South of France is the spot this time of the year.
Well, I haven't even thought about it, Henry.
Here, speaking of France, by the way, I read across a rum item in the paper last week.
Oh?
This French bloke's wife killed herself, see? Suicide. Plain as the nose on your face. Bloke collects the insurance and then skips off. Hops off to Paris and starts blowing in his brass on riotous living, you might say. The gendarmes picked him up like that. Give himself away, he did. He killed her himself. If he'd stayed where he was, nobody'd have been any the wiser. Now, the way I look at it, Elf... Elf, where'd he go? I say there, Peg!
Looking for your friend, Mr. Small?
Well, he was here only a second ago. I was just chinning, not looking at him especially, and he ups and disappears.
He walked out while you was talking, Mr. Small. White as a sheet he was, just like he'd seen a ghost.
It wasn't a ghost you'd seen, was it, Alfred? Merely the folly of trying to go away. Henry Small's right. People would immediately start to talk. Wait, though. Henry Small never invited you to have a beer before. And why did he tell you that story about the Frenchman? It's very suspicious. As frightening as Molly Applegate's remarks at the inquest. What was the information she could have given the coroner? The question beats at your mind again as you walk home from the pub, trying to hurry through the fog that's come up.
Mr. Smithers?
Oh.
I hope I didn't startle you, Mr. Smithers.
Yeah, you did give me a bit of a turn, Mrs. Applegate. I didn't notice you waiting at the doorway.
Thought you'd be along about now. I've been waiting for you.
Waiting for me?
I know how it's been for you since Gracie passed on. I thought perhaps you were tired of having your tea alone by now, eh?
Oh. Well, I haven't thought about it much, Mrs. Applegate.
As a widow, I know what it's like to be lonely myself. I just got some lovely fish and chips at the shop, and I left tea on at home. So if you'd like to come in...
Well, really,
I thought we might have things to talk about.
Things to talk about?
I'm a woman what keeps her eyes open. I know how things were with you and Gracie.
What you mean?
In our mystery books.
Well, what about them?
Believe me, I understand.
Understand what? What is it to understand?
You can trust me not to breathe a word to anyone.
Mrs. Applegate, I'm sure I don't know what...
Alfred, you've known me long enough now to call me by my right name. You can call me Molly if you want to.
Oh, I'm sorry. I really must be getting home.
Oh, but our tea.
I don't want no tea. I'm not hungry, Mrs. Applegate. Good night.
What's happening to you, Alfred? Sergeant Jellaby, Henry Small, the insurance man, Molly Applegate. They've all talked to one another about you. Are they playing a cat-and-mouse game with you? You've got to find out how much they know. Ask Henry Small. Question him skillfully, cunningly, so that he won't suspect anything. But get the truth from him. That's it. Invite him to the house. He's late in arriving, though. By the time he does get there, it's late afternoon, and fog is beginning to creep through the streets again.
What did you want to see me about, Elf?
Well, Henry, I'd like to apologize about the other night at the pub, you know.
Apologize? What for?
I suppose you thought it was odd of me going... I said... Why are you looking out the window?
Oh, nothing. What's up, Alf?
I wanted to talk about something else, too.
What's that?
Well, I don't quite know how to say it.
Something troubling you, Alf?
Why do you say that?
Helps sometimes to get it off your chest. Like I was saying to Molly Applegate this
Why
morning...
must you keep looking out that window?
What's that, Alf?
You expecting something? Is that it? Is that why you was late?
Here he is. He's coming now.
Oh, you're talking about?
Another minute and you wouldn't be able to see him for the fog.
Oh, is it here? Let me see.
Them uniforms don't keep out the cold in weather like this.
No, he can't.
What's up, Alf?
He can't come here.
What's wrong?
He can't come here.
Look here, mate. Easy does it. Now, look, Alf. Is anything the matter? He's at the door, Alf. You better let him in. Alf, don't you hear him? You better go to the door. Alf! Alf! Good heavens. Alf, what have you done? Here, let me help you.
You can let him in now, Henry. You all thought you were so clever. But poison is quicker.
The Whistler will return in just a moment with a strange ending to tonight's story. Meantime, a word about a sight that's becoming more and more common these cold mornings. Somebody trying to start his car, but no luck. The reason? Another war-weary battery has gone dead. So that this can't happen to your car, I'd like to suggest that you take advantage of your Signal gasoline dealer's complete battery service. At least every 2 weeks, stop in to have him check the water level and remove destructive corrosion from the terminals. If your battery seems run down, your Signal dealer has the latest equipment to tell its exact condition, as well as to give you a thorough recharge job. In the event that you need a new battery, he has top-quality Signal batteries, fully guaranteed for long, trouble-free service. And I might add, Signal dealers also have America's finest spark plugs, Champion spark plugs, which play such an important part in cold weather starting. So stop in at your Signal dealer soon. You'll find he's much more than just a place to buy Signal's famous Go Farther gasoline and fine lubricants. For wherever you see Signal's yellow and black circle sign, there you'll also find complete Signal service and accessories to help your car run better, look better, and last longer. And now, back to the Whistler.
Yes, Alfred, poison is quick enough to kill you while that uniformed figure still rang your doorbell. The cat-and-mouse game is over. The moment you saw his vague form coming up the walk through the fog, you knew that giant paw was descending on you. The police had come for you at last. So now you lie dead in a huddled heap in your little kitchen, while Molly Applegate, aroused by Henry Small's outcry, and Henry talked to the newcomer about you.
Terrible, terrible. How soon do you think the police will get here?
Sergeant Jellaby ought to be here at any time now.
Not that he can do anything. Nobody can now.
What made him do it?
Well, mate, the minute he saw you, he makes a dash for the kitchen. By the time I realized something was up, it was too late.
Oh, poor fella. Seemed to go all to pieces after his wife died.
I did what I could for him, too. Stood him a drink the other night. Ran out on me while I was telling him some yarn or the other.
I must say I was wrong about him.
Wrong?
Well, I feel proper ashamed of myself now, but I got the idea she hadn't been a good wife to him. I tried to tell him so.
Poor old chum. Ain't it funny how he jumped on the edge the minute I spotted you coming up the walk? Thought you might be bringing me a quid or two on the football pool this week. Instead, you called on old Alf.
What gets me? Why does he do it just when I'm ringing the bell?
What was it you had for him, Mr. Postman?
A special delivery letter, registered, from the insurance company. It's the money from his poor wife's policy.
Monday at 9 o'clock, the Whistler will bring you another strange tale. The Whistler is broadcast for your entertainment by the marketers of Signal gasoline and motor oil and fine quality automotive accessories, and by your neighborhood Signal dealer. This program, produced by George W. Allen with tonight's story by Leslie Edgley, music by Wilbur Hatch, is transmitted to our troops overseas by the Armed Forces Radio Service. That whistle is your signal for the Signal Oil program, The Whistler. This is Marvin Miller speaking, reminding you to look for those familiar yellow and black circle signs that identify those popular Signal Oil stations in 7 western states from Canada to Mexico. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
That was The Whistler with Poison is Quicker, as originally heard December 3rd, 1945. Well, folks, that brings another edition of Classic Radio Rewind to a close. If you're enjoying these podcasts and haven't done so, click subscribe now to make sure you get all the latest episodes as they're released. As always, don't forget to check out our 4 live streaming old-time radio stations at www.WOTRradionetwork.com. Also, follow us on Facebook and the X social media platforms. Both of these social media sites keep you informed as to what's playing on our live stations, along with news about upcoming specials on any of our stations. So, for the WOTR Radio Network and Classic Radio Rewind, this is Barry Slinker saying goodbye for now.